Hello everyone and welcome to our Techinar, Power Up Connectivity Among Neighbors in Your Local Market. I'm Susan Harrison, Senior Vice President with EXIT Realty, and I'll be moderating this session. If you have questions throughout the presentation, please type them into the question box on the GoToWebinar pane and we'll do our best to address them. Today's session is being recorded and you're in listen-only mode. One of the keys to a successful career in real estate is to effectively utilize technology to help you develop and nurture relationships with people. At the end of the day, you know, it's all about people. Joining Annette Anthony, EXIT Realty's Vice President of Technology Engagement today, is Terry Martin-Back, Associate Broker with EXIT Realty Producers in Gainesville, Florida. And together they're going to explain how to build your positive reputation and expertise while demonstrating your interest in the neighborhood and the people who live there. Annette?
Hi, Susan. Thank you so much, and welcome attendees. You know what? We are so, privileged to have the opportunity to do this session for this month's Techinar. I personally reached out to Terry because, I've known about his success in connecting with neighbors in the community. So you guys are in for an absolute treat. We're going to focus on two areas. Here we go. We're going to focus on two areas, two platforms. And we're going to dig deep because we want to give you insight into how you can use them in the areas that you serve. So these two platforms that we're going to talk about, Nextdoor. Nextdoor is serving several countries, and Meetup, well, they're pretty much serving communities around the globe. Now, these are two distinct platforms. One focuses on the physical neighbors in the community that you live in, and the other focuses on creating community with people who have common interests. Hey, welcome to today's Techinar, Terry. We're so happy to have you.
Well, thank you for the invitation and the opportunity to address our EXIT family.
You bet. So, Terry, tell us about your experience with social platforms and how you're connecting with neighbors.
Well, we take up a lot of our time on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. And my question to the audience is, what is your return of investment? Do you actually know the people you're connecting with intimately? And likely you're not. And here's another thing. Not all your neighbors that live in your community are engaged in your social network. Getting to know the people who live in your neighborhood is key, and that's where Nextdoor can help.
Absolutely. And you know what, Terry, there's a difference, right? We hear in the industry, they talk about engaging and nurturing relationships on social, but truly, but connecting with people who shop where you shop, who have kids in school with your kids, right? Who live and thrive in the same neighborhood. Now, this can be one of the most effective strategies to become a household name in real estate. So let's talk about Nextdoor.
Yeah, let's look at this neighborhood. What are the chances that the neighbors who live on the far right of the cul-de-sac here in this neighborhood actually know the people who live on the left of this photograph? And likely not. Someone in the neighborhood needs, let's say someone needs to fix their bike, or they need a tool to fix their bike. Well, if you are on Nextdoor, you send out a post, and the next thing you know, someone in your neighborhood might ask, or if they know someone out there, or they can refer someone, or maybe someone in your neighborhood just might come down and have the tool and fix it for you. So again, the opportunity to get to know your neighbors firsthand, introduce yourself. How valuable is that to you?
So good. Terry, tell us tell us a little bit more about some history of Nextdoor. When did it launch, and where do they participate?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. Nextdoor launched in 2011, and it's participating in countries to include the Netherlands, United Kingdom, Germany, France, Italy, Spain, Australia, Denmark, Sweden, and obviously the U.S. Now, Canada is on their project roadmap to launch in the near future. And Nextdoor is a social network for your specific neighborhood. And to let you know, this is a free platform where neighbors can communicate one another in real time. And each community is mapped out in advance, which can include hundreds of families within your community. Every community can have a team leader. And a team leader is just like an ambassador that invites the neighbors to join and manage and oversee. It keeps the neighbors communicating.
Awesome. Now, when did you discover Nextdoor and start to really use it?
Well, it's kind of funny you asked. This a couple years ago, I was at a networking event, and someone was talking about a garage sale that had been promoted on Nextdoor, and I didn't have a clue what it was, and they told me about it. And what I did is I came home immediately and logged on to the Nextdoor platform, and to find out that there was no one in my neighborhood who was on Nextdoor. And there was a button that says, would you like to be the team leader? And guess what? I pushed that button.
That's awesome. Now, as a team leader, explain, how does Nextdoor help you get the neighbors connected together? Like, what are the resources? And explain us a little bit further of what that means.
Well, when I first went on there and they verified that I lived in the actual neighborhood based on the records from Google Maps and all that, and they said, all right, we're going to help you invite your neighbors. And they initially send out postcards with your name on it, inviting them to join Nextdoor. And believe it or not, they physically send out 100 postcards to the neighbors that you invite. And then once you get 10 people to join your platform, they say, hey, great, you did a good job. They give you an opportunity to send out another 100 postcards. And that's how I got the Nextdoor going in our neighborhood.
That's crazy. So for the attendees that are listening, did you just hear what Terry said? They're going to literally create and mail out with your information to the neighbors to invite them to participate. I mean, that's incredible. So for our Canadian attendees that are listening or watching the replay, you got to definitely watch for the official announcement once they launch in Canada. You want to be one of the first to claim your neighborhood. Maybe I would say what I would recommend is set up a Google alert. A Google alert is simple. It's going to monitor the web for news about Nextdoor. So when it officially comes to Canada, you're going to know about it. So to set up a Google alert, you just need to go to google.com/alert and then put in their Nextdoor, and then obviously monitor when those announcements come in, and pay attention and definitely connect. Now, times have changed, you know, in neighborhoods. Terry, tell us a little bit about what was your neighborhood like 30 years ago?
Well, 30 years ago, I was in the military, and we didn't have the internet. Well, we had it in the Army, but we got to know all our neighbors on the street, and we would communicate after storms, or we'd get together and say, hey, let's have a cookout, and we'd all gather at somebody's house and basically communicate face-to-face, and it was not about politics. It was all about getting to know one another personally.
You know, and neighborhoods are really different today. You do see less people out, you know, talking to one another. And, you know, more neighbors are moving in, and they're not knowing each other. And I got to tell you, with technology and how quickly, how rapidly it's taking over, I got to tell you, I was at my neighbor's house. They live right behind us. And by the way, I know everyone on our neighborhood here in Mesa. I know everyone on our street, the neighbors next door, all the way to the end on our street, and the people across the street. But I know no one behind us other than one neighbor that we get together with regularly. But Terry, we were at the neighbor's house behind us, and we're sitting in his living room, just to show you how neighborhoods are transforming and how technology is taking over. The doorbell rings, and while we're just sitting down on the couch, the doorbell rang, and my neighbor who lives there, he didn't get up off the couch to go answer the door like you normally would. Remember when we would run to the front door, you know, slide with your socks, and somebody's knocking on the door and it's probably company, right? My neighbor on his mobile device is looking to see who is it at his front door, and he's talking with them through his mobile device from the couch. Now, I suspect that we've got people on the call right now who maybe have done that before, but technology is changing neighborhoods, and platforms like Nextdoor, they're going to help retain the sense of community for sure. So let's talk a little bit about improving the community and public health, and let's dig a little deeper.
Well, the other thing, and you can use technology. It worked great around in our neighborhood. where we had the porch pirates coming in and taking boxes off the porch. Well, people got on and said, hey, somebody just snatched the box. They have to take the picture from their doorbell. They posted it on Nextdoor, and the next thing you know, the police saw the picture, they knew who it was, and they arrested the guy, all within in the same day. Secondly is we had someone in our neighborhood specifically go out and ask somebody who could tutor their child in a course they were taking in school. And it just happened that somebody within our neighborhood answered them back and said, hey, I can work with them. And they went over and they tutored the child for free. How valuable of a tool would that be for you? Just imagine not having to pay for a tutor for your kid to get good grades in school.
That's really important. And, you know, I think of one of my neighbors. She lives across the street. She's elderly. I'm talking early 80s. She's widowed. She has a piano in her living room, and she loves to play it. So imagine connecting her with a child in our neighborhood to come over for lessons. And what I see is that not only is that awesome, it's perfect for the child who wants to learn how to play the piano, right? But think about how it also enriches, or how it would enrich my neighbor's life by passing on the wisdom of playing the piano. Now, you talked a little bit about the neighborhood, Terry. Let's talk about the mapping. How does that work out in Nextdoor?
Well, it's all Google directed. If you know Big Brother is watching and they know specifically how it is, once you click on to your neighborhood app, you're going to be able to see your physical neighborhood, and you're going to see where your house is and how it's directed to everyone else. Now, if you get that card in the mail, or what happens is you're going to have to log on to the site, and they're going to have to verify that this is actually you, and this is your phone number, or this is your email address, and this is your physical address, and then they're going to push the button. If your name matches up with the house as it is on the Google Maps, as it is in the tax collector's office or the property appraiser's office, then you're going to get a confirmation. Well, what's really cool is once you confirm, they're going to send you an email saying, hey, welcome to Nextdoor, but as a team leader, I'm going to get the same email stating that you just joined Nextdoor.
That's ideal. Now, for those, you know, when you look at the map, let's take a look at this one. There's different color coordinations. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, the green, if you look on this map, the green is specifically for people who have joined Nextdoor. The yellow are people who have been invited, and the red are people, they may have been invited, but they haven't joined yet. So it's a process that, well, it gives you the opportunity to think, okay, I've invited these people, they've joined, and the people who are in the yellow, we've joined, but it gives you an opportunity to walk up to the door and say, hey, I'm part of Nextdoor, I'm the leader, and did you get the postcard? And you're not buying anything. It gives you the opportunity to actually go meet your neighbors.
I love it. And with your EXIT shirt on, I'm just saying. Now let's talk about Go ahead.
Oh, and I just happen to be in the business of real estate. How about that?
Right. So about the address verification, you're talking about the postcards that get mailed, and that every neighbor has to verify their home address. There's multiple ways that they can verify that they are in fact the homeowner.
Yeah. Again, it comes back down, and this all comes through your IDX, your property appraiser's office. You can verify with your social security number, your phone number, your address. But let's face it, everything's in the sky right now, in the clouds right now. So that's how they're going to verify that with you.
So good. Now there's a lot of communities participating. Let's talk about the communities.
Okay. Right now there's 189,000 communities participating across the U.S. today. And chances are associates who are watching this right now who are from these cities likely already are participating in Nextdoor. But the question is, are you participating in Nextdoor? And if your community doesn't have a team leader, are you ready to be the leader?
You know, recently, Terry, Sarah Fryer from the Inman Connect stage. She shared her opinion on how local business owners, because the reality is real estate professionals, you are a local business owner. And she was talking about their effective use of Nextdoor. Now, she's seen professionals go in for the hard sell 30% of the time, and the other 70% is about sharing interesting content with the users. So for real estate agents, that means helping to get the message out about the community. For instance, Sarah Fryer continues to say that you're in a market area that is all about community. She says people don't buy a house, they buy a home. And people don't want to see bricks and mortar. They want to understand who are their neighbors and what are the schools like and how friendly are people. Now, Fryer mentioned that there's a real estate agent that works in her neighborhood within the app of Nextdoor. And Fryer affectionately calls her Colleen. And she said despite not knowing her at all, she's never met her in person, Colleen posts tips like reminding her California neighbors to clear away dead wood before wildfire season, and even offers advice on who to hire locally. Now, Fryer said from the stage that she knows her by first name, but she's never met her in person, and she feels as though she's always got her back. So think about what neighbors need to know that is going to enhance how they live in your neighborhood. And like anything, you got to have a successful plan that you can create, perhaps a seasonal calendar that's going to help you plan in advance ideas to keep your neighbors informed and connected. Now, according to Nextdoor, there are a wide range of discussions being had within Nextdoor. And if you, for instance, take each of these percentages, right, and you come up with just 2 topics for each percentage that's here on this graph, that's easily going to take you over the next 12 months. So for instance, recommendations. People in Nextdoor, the biggest number of conversation is about recommendations. So imagine at 26%, you can talk about recommendations for handymen, things that people need on a regular basis. Handymen, lawn services, painters, you can go crazy. Classifieds, when people are selling something, you can help them write a post to sell an item or promote a neighborhood garage. Okay. For community issues, think about tips to keep pets safe or resources to haul away, clutter. In crime and safety, this is a really good one. You can certainly have, you could share tips on how to keep your home safe, or get fingerprint kits from your local police station, or talk to your fire department about fire evacuation safety. Those would be great tips to discuss. Now with events, this is a really easy one. You can get together with your local Chamber of Commerce about events. You can also talk to perhaps the neighboring schools and churches. They've got events going on all the time that you could sprinkle in your conversations on Nextdoor. And then in the other field, the 7%, you can certainly talk about neighborhood park get-togethers. You can talk about restaurant specials, farmers markets. I mean, there's no shortage of what you could talk about. Now, Terry, I want you to talk about you being the team leader. Tell us a little bit about how that's helped you get to know your neighbors.
Well, it's kind of funny you mentioned that. We know quite a few people on our street. We've lived here for over 22 years. But once I started Nextdoor, I struck up a conversation with our neighbor who realized, hey, you're in the real estate business. And he let me know that he'd been living in this house for 6 years and he was getting ready to move. And he gave us the phone number of his owner, who contacted us and gave us a nice $300,000 listing from it. Now
nice.
that equated to finances and helping us with our business, but it also it helps me get to know the neighbors within the community, and they understand that I control what's going on in here, and if somebody is putting stuff out there that's not what I feel neighborly, is I can contact them directly and say, hey, listen, you can't be putting that out there, and if I'm the leader and you keep putting it out there, then I can block that person. So we want to keep the community friendly.
Nice. Communication is really important, and here's a screenshot of what the conversation looks like on desktop and mobile.
Yeah, we regularly communicate together. We might not see each other face to face, but when they ask for a recommendation, oftentimes I'll recommend maybe it's a well and septic person or a carpenter or a painter, and it just strikes up a conversation.
So good, because these are real conversations in actual real time, and your notifications will pop up. You'll either get you'll get a I love getting notifications on my mobile device so that I can see these conversations happening. So if something's happened to a neighbor, I know that you had someone in your neighbor who has dementia. Who talk a little bit about that, because in real time neighbors react, respond, and help.
Well, one thing about Nextdoor, you can communicate directly within your neighborhood, and the surrounding neighborhoods around you. You can get contacts from them. We had a senior in a neighborhood that's next door to ours, has dementia, and wandered off. They immediately went on Nextdoor and said, "Hey, be looking out for this person," and fortunately, they found him without having to get the police and everybody out there. So the safety, think about if that was your parent, how would you feel if you had entire neighborhoods out looking for your parent with dementia?
It's huge, because with my father, when he had dementia, I can't tell you the number of times that he had gotten out of the house, and luckily the neighbors were able to respond and get him home safely. That's great. And also with natural disasters, right? How have you seen this with natural disasters, especially in Florida? What have you seen, and how are people responding?
Well, it's because we're semi-rural. Hurricanes come through, trees come down. I keep a chainsaw because I'm a general contractor as well, and is opening up the streets, allowing people to get out of their driveways or out of their community, and we do that for free because that's what neighbors do. The opportunity is letting people become prepared. What do you need? How can I help you prepare for the storm? And it's all there, and you can do that. That's what neighbors do.
That's great. Now, there's also an opportunity to sponsor. Let's talk about quickly about sponsoring posts.
Well, we come up here, we sponsor our real estate side in here, and every time you get a notification email from Nextdoor, you're going to have sponsored posts. Well, we happen to sponsor the real estate side, and that costs you about $51 a month. It's for your zip code. And when somebody goes on there, and let's say they want to see some houses, when they click on that link, it will take you to another page, and you can see where the houses will show up and what they will look like. And at the top of the sponsor, it is EXIT Realty Producers sponsoring that information. So it's a great opportunity, number one, to brand yourself with your company, but also you're in your neighborhood, and people understand that, yeah, this is my neighbor who happens to be in the business of real estate.
Really good. You know what? I believe that Nextdoor is a missed opportunity, and I believe that this webinar is going to help people open their eyes to the possibilities here. I have two Nextdoor neighborhoods, the one here in Mesa, and then I have one in Iowa. So keeping the pulse on the neighborhood from a distance gives me that peace of mind. If I see something, I can absolutely connect immediately with a neighbor, even though I'm far away, and connect with them right away on phone. So here's the web address for Nextdoor, nextdoor.com, and here's a bit.ly link. This bit.ly link has tremendous resources to help you get familiar with Nextdoor, resources that you can share with the neighbors to get them familiar with Nextdoor, and more importantly, get them to participate. But let's say now our people are well informed about Nextdoor. So what's next, Terry? What do they need to do?
Well, they need to get out there and start connecting with their neighbors, and put your walking shoes on and walk up and just introduce yourself. If you happen to be the leader and you know all the people in your neighborhood simply because you have the list of members, is, well, thank them for being part of it, and the next house next door may not be part, is invite them to join Nextdoor and educate them on what Nextdoor is all about. It's not about selling anything. It's about supporting the community, and I think once they understand what it's all about, they'll be all for it.
Perfect. Let's switch gears and let's talk about Meetup.
One of my favorite tools out here. I started Meetup, my Meetup group in 2012. I have a investment group, And it has been a great opportunity for me to not only recruit agents, but give seminars and lectures on how to evaluate real estate property. But it's the goal out there is a Meetup is to get involved with people with the like interest. Maybe you like cycling, or you're a writer, or you're an artist, or a bird watcher. Whatever you're involved in, if you have mutual interest, you can get involved with these people, start conversations with them when you go to these organizations, and just remind them, oh, by the way, I am in the business of real estate.
So as an example, Terry, you created a special group. Now this is free to join, is that right?
Yeah, the Meetup groups are free to join. Well, it all depends on who's created it. Some people may charge you a small fee to be part of the Meetup. Many of them, I have some, that they're free of charge. Now, if you have this platform and you've created the Meetup group, there is a fee depending on how many people you have in your group.
Okay, so you created a group. You created a Meetup. It's your Invest Gainesville. Talk a little bit about how this is helping you.
Well, it has built our business. Number one, it's given us the opportunity to educate people about evaluating potential investment properties. We've also recruited agents in using Invest Gainesville. And the agents, when they're out there, have the opportunity to talk to these investors and write offers and close on investment properties. So it's been a great opportunity for our agents as well as our EXIT Realty Producers office.
So here's your About page, which helps describe in detail what this group is about, and people can dig deeper into learning more about your Invest in Gainesville. I'm going to go through some of these slides. Like, for instance, you've got the Meetups. Tell us a little bit more about what can they expect when they click on Meetups here on your page.
Well, in the Meetups, you can set up a Meetup for the next day, but typically our Meetup is a scheduled event that we hold on a monthly basis. And we have several of them. Other agents schedule different types of Meetups, and you send this out, and the people who click onto your system or are members of your system actually get emails immediately to let them know where and what time and what's going on during that event.
Good. So they get the details about the event, where it's going to be held, the time, location. What about members? Your list.
The members, you will have a complete list of all of those who are involved in your Meetup system. So you're going to be able to connect with them directly. And you can, now I control mine a little bit more. If somebody wanted to contact one of the other members inside my group, they send the message out, I'll approve it, and we go that way. So you have complete control if you have your own platform.
So that's good. So that if you have members within the group, they can't like sell to each other, right? You keep it private.
Yes, we try to keep people from doing that. And if you've been in the investment industry, you have the wholesalers who are trying to sell a contract. Well, I prohibit that going on in mine. My group, my Meetup group, is specifically for education and teaching people how to buy and sell and invest in real estate the right way.
That's good. That's good. Now, how about photos? What kind of photos can you put in here in your own Meetup?
Well, this is one of the scary things that I was told by my attorneys. If you're going to be posting pictures of people in your Meetup site, is you need to have releases. So there's no litigation later on because of maybe they were dissatisfied or something happened. So I can have photos of me, I can have photos of houses out there and what to look for. But if you're going to be using people or organizations, get the authorization.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then how about discussions? What goes on in here?
Well, in discussions, this is where you throw out a conversation and you can create communications between people. I like to throw out there, okay, when we go out and we show these people these properties, I'll come back and say, well, what did you think about the kitchen, or what did you think about the bathroom, and did the electrical problem, was that bothersome for you? So we had straight communications and discussions, and everybody can get involved who is part of the organization.
That's good. So while you're out in the field or you're having conversations in session, you can further a deeper dive into those conversations here in Meetup. Now, if you guys notice, do you guys see the 72 5-star ratings? You know, I love to see that because I love to see when our agents get reviews, they get recommendations. I love to see that. But even in Meetup, this is really important. How did you get your members to give you 72 5-star ratings?
Well, you know, it's all my members have the opportunity to rate us, and it's important that people who decide to join our event, we offer them a good service. That's what they're astounded when they come to our meetups and they find out they're not trying to sell me something. This is actually educational. So these are true ratings. We didn't solicit these. So just offering somebody good service was the most important. You offer them good service, eventually the cash will follow.
And you know, you're asking them to rate you as well. And I think that's really important because oftentimes agents miss that opportunity. They feel like, oh, they'll just give me if I did a good enough job, they'll give me a good, you know, a 5-star rating. But that's not always the case. You need to be diligent and get those reviews, get those ratings. That's important because when people decide what event they want to join or attend, the star rating does make a difference. So do everything you can to get those star ratings for those who are listening. Now, you also have the ability to create an event.
Sure, it's like I said, I have monthly meetings every month. But when you go out there, let's say I have a speaker who's coming in. Let's say you're going to come to Gainesville. I can create a special event saying Annette Anthony is going to bring her tech tips here, and we're going to invite you to our training room, and that goes out to all our members. But also with Meetup, the platform says anytime a Meetup shows up, it appears in the total area around you. So it's not just members when you do an event, it's everybody who is on Meetup within your community.
So you're constantly growing your circle of like-minded individuals. Now, because of Meetup, tell us a little bit about what you've experienced with your SEO.
Well, if you were to go on Google and say real estate investment in Gainesville, Florida, I come up on the first page below all the paid ads. I am #1 by getting out there and getting the reviews and just being active on there. It's increased our SEO, and to be on the first page and not have to pay for it, that says something in itself.
Definitely. So the emphasis on our topic today, right, is to participate. You can't just sign up and expect success. You've got to get involved. And you also need to get involved in the community. That's very interesting, and our attendees can easily get involved too, which you can leverage your expertise, and when you volunteer in both Nextdoor and the Meetup platform, you can share those conversations of what you've learned and impart that information to your audience. Now, as a bonus, what I love about this and your knowledge, Terry, is apps and websites, they're helpful to connect with people, but let's give our audience some ideas to further connect while leveraging both Nextdoor and Meetup. You know, let's talk about volunteering in the community and, surprisingly, volunteering in government.
Oh, yeah. It's look for the opportunities out there to get involved in the community. It's not just real estate. There are benefits to volunteering in your local government. There are government boards that you can participate in, you can volunteer for. I was part of the Codes Enforcement Board for 4 years. I was a member of the Veterans Advisory Board for 6 years. And Deborah, who's the broker and my boss, she sits on the Alachua County Housing Authority Board, and she's a commissioner there. So we stay involved, as well as going and talking in front of the City Commission and County Commission when we're addressing issues within our community.
So how do you get involved for our audience, right? And do you need prior experience to participate?
Well, I would say follow your passion. If you were to go onto the websites of your city commission or county commission or township or whatever you have, there should be a link there that says advisory or volunteer within your community. And for here in Alachua County, you just go in there, you fill out the application. Now, our boards, we had to go up and be approved by our county commissioners to be part of it. But there are just some volunteering boards. Could be, area beautification or tourist bureau or development. but follow your passion. What is it that you're really interested in? And when you're passionate about doing what you're doing, it's worth every minute to be out there because you'll enjoy it that much. You don't need to be paid for everything you do.
So good. And you know what? You become an expert in your community, and people are going to engage with you further to discuss issues because they see you as an authority in these issues. Now, if you were to give the audience 3 action items, what would they be, Terry? Because we want them to implement.
Well, if you're going to go on Nextdoor, door knocking, get to know the people within your community. If it takes an afternoon to do it, walk around and get to know your neighbors. I can't emphasize more. Number 2 is get involved in your community. I don't know how many times I've had people stop me in the grocery store and say, hey, I saw you on TV, I agree with you 100%, or they say, I don't agree with you, but I appreciate you standing up for me. And understand this. Number 3 is the better service you offer your people, the money will follow.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and open up the chat for questions. Go ahead and do that now.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Thanks, everybody. We're getting questions if folks could get a copy of the webinar. Absolutely. It's being recorded. It's going to be uploaded. The recording will be uploaded to EXIT's Resource Center later on today, and also it'll be available on our YouTube channel. So you'll be able to access it there as well. So first off, we have a question about Nextdoor. The question is, how do I get an invite code?
Well, I would, the first thing you do is you go to the network site and you'll punch in your address. And once you punch your address in, you'll see a map of your community show up. And if there's not a leader there, then they're going to ask you if you want to be the leader. If there's already a leader there, you click on your site, and that will send a confirmation to the leader within that network group, and he will either approve, he'll approve you, or Nextdoor will prove that you're a member of that neighborhood and automatically approve you.
Right. I think that's an important distinction too. It's not necessarily for your farm area, which may not be where you live. It's actually in the neighborhood where you live, right?
Correct. You can't, if, let's just say you have 2 or 3 different neighborhoods that are adjacent to yours and there's no leader in there, you can't be the leader in those neighborhoods. It's specifically for your mapped out neighborhood specifically.
Right, right. So Terry, you've really taken advantage of this and you've taken it to the next level. But at the basic level, what are the requirements of the team leader? What are you required to do?
Well, it's number one, after I get the first 10 people in there, the Nextdoor says, all right, invite other people. And my responsibility was to go through the map and see who had not been invited, click on them, and have Nextdoor send them a postcard. I don't have any expense at all in this. Nextdoor does everything. All I'm doing is just managing the community, who I can let in, and manage the conversations that's coming out of my community.
I see. So you kind of act as a moderator.
Absolutely.
Do you initiate posts on Nextdoor, and if so, what do you post on Nextdoor?
I post on there, it could be information about a home improvement, changing a door, or look for rotten siding, maintenance tips. Most of mine is I follow up with people who are asking recommendations. That I'm going to say 50% of that is asking for a recommendation for a service provider, whether it be pool, a painter, a carpenter, a roofing company. That's where most of it is. And the other thing that comes in is the pets. Everybody's losing a pet or they found a lost pet, and that seems to be a lot of what's going on. And once people find a pet, they'll announce it out there. They'll put a phone number in there, and they find the owners. So that's the good thing about Nextdoor.
That's sure something that tugs at people's heartstrings too, for sure. We're still unclear about how to sign up. So if somebody goes to nextdoor.com, are there prompts there?
Yeah, they're going to ask you to put in your address and your zip code.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay. Just give me a second. I want to read through the next question that came in because it's a little bit long. When you're going door to door and you're meeting people, what is it you tell them about Nextdoor? Do you tell them to sign up on do they have to download an app? Do they have to go online on their desktop? what is it that you need to tell them when you're going door to door?
Well, one thing about being the team leader here is I go to my app and they create a flyer that I can take out. So it gives you the opportunity to have the flyer at hand and hand it to them with specific directions on what it is they need to do to become part of Nextdoor.
Gotcha. So you've got some collateral there, and that'll all be on nextdoor.com and on that bit.ly link. And again, the bit.ly link was kind of a difficult one to remember. So in the recording, when you go back and listen and watch this session again, you'll be able to jot down that bit.ly link, and I think that's where the collateral is.
Okay.
Great stuff. So here's an interesting question. How do we find out if other agents are using Nextdoor within our community?
Well, you can go on there. If you know who your real estate agents are, there's a list. You can go in and you can check their address through the state. But my suggestion is walk the neighborhood, and if you're not sure who lives in there, let them know. Say, hey, I'm part of I'm in the real estate business. And they go, well, so am I. You can strike up a conversation and get to know that way. But oftentimes it's specifically known, the agents list in your community. Now, you live in a large community, so you may have thousands of them. We're a smaller community, so we only have maybe 1,400 or 1,500 agents within our MLS. So,
right. I think it's worth mentioning again that this isn't specifically geared to go out and sell real estate. It's not like door knocking or prospecting, right? The idea is just to get to know your neighbor, and oh, by the way, I happen to be in real estate. So even if there's another half a dozen agents in the same neighborhood, that's not the purpose of signing up for Nextdoor, right?
Correct. It's to get to know your neighbors. We invite our neighbors. We call it's Caveman TV, and we send out an invitation. Hey, come and sit around a campfire, pop some popcorn, roast some hot dogs and marshmallows, and just have conversations.
Great. So let's just skip now to Meetup. A couple of questions about Meetup. Can you just clarify? Is there a cost to using Meetup?
It depends. If when you find a Meetup group, they will specify whether or not there is a fee to be part of that group. Most of them are free. My group personally is the Invest Gainesville. I give 30 days free, and it's $120 a year, and people can pay through the app. If you manage a group, my group is I have 2 different Meetup sites. It runs me about $90 every 6 months to maintain my Meetup site.
Okay, so you have to actually pay Meetup in order to use the app.
Yeah, if you're going to use that and create a site, correct. And it all depends on how many people you have in your membership. On my networking, I have about 175, and then on my my investment group, I have over 450 people. So yeah, it's all by the numbers.
Yeah, the thing I like about this is that agents are often looking for ways to increase their sphere and to jump into a bunch of people that they don't already know. So if you were to look up on Meetup and find out actually the different types of things that are going on in your area, it might open up a whole new way to get to meet people. Again, not with the idea that you're going to go in and, with your feature sheets in your hand and wave them and go, look, I'm a real estate agent. It's the idea of expanding your sphere, right?
Correct. And I tell people, I just got into cycling. I'm going to be looking for a cycling group to have additional people to go riding with me on the weekends. Not everybody wants to get out there and ride 30 miles in a day. And if you find people with then you can talk about your bike, you can talk about the trails, but it's getting to know people personally. And once they find out what you do, then maybe they'll refer you.
Yeah, because they get to know you as a person first before they know that you're a real estate agent. And like Annette mentioned earlier, it doesn't hurt to have your exit thing on when you're out and about, right?
Well, I think Exit needs to come up and get some riding jerseys for those of us so we can push those and really push it.
So let's end with this final question. Agents are busy. They've got a lot going on. They're involved in a lot of things. If you could only choose to act today on either Nextdoor or Meetup, which would you choose and why?
Oh, I have to say it's my Meetup. My Meetup group, because I enjoy teaching and instructing people. It's also additional cash flow for me. But the opportunity for me to teach people and watch their confidence grow as I show them how to evaluate the real estate. That means more to me than anything in the world. But to give up one or the other, I don't think I would want to give up either one of them.
Well, that's awesome. That's it for our questions, Annette.
Great. That's a wrap. And thank you, Terry, so much for all of your knowledge. I know that our attendees with fresh eyes have now seen the possibilities of Nextdoor, and there are numerous possibilities, as well as Meetup. Like Susan explained, it's about expanding your networking circle with like-minded people. So whether you're newly located to the area or you're looking for additional sources to connect with people, you have two great resources to now expand, getting to know more people. And Terry, I'm a daughter and wife of a veteran. My father served in the military, as did my husband. And I just want to thank you for your service and definitely thank you for your time today. And thank you to all of our attendees that participated today. We really appreciate you. Look forward to the recording coming up very soon. Thank you, Susan.